malnutrition and mental health. As the climate change is going to have its effect with reference to economic and political life of the people, and there is one more consequence of it, that is it is going to show its impact in the form of malnutrition and mental health. It is completely an indirect consequence. It is not a direct consequence. And I think you all have understood what is the direct impact and indirect impact. Directly, what is the problem, like in the form of droughts, floods, and reducing forest cover, and so on. These are all the direct consequences. And what are the indirect consequences? Out of direct consequences, if we suffer from any other problems, those are indirect consequences of climate change. Now, this is the indirect consequence of the problem, like if we have change in climate or global warming, that is malnutrition and mental health. Now you tell me, what is malnutrition and how is it associated with climate change? If there are extreme weather conditions, what happens?
Malnutrition is deficiency of nutrients.
Malnutrition. Like deficiency of nutrition.
Yes,
food, which should be available to all the people.
If there is a climate change, obviously that will have impact on agriculture. Will not get sufficient what we say sufficient food contents, ma'am. So obviously there will be a cause of deficiency.
Okay, if there are if we experience extreme weather patterns, like because of change in climate, if we suffer from floods or droughts, then obviously it is going to have its impact in the form of rainfall patterns. Depending upon the regions, there may be floods, and depending upon the geographical locations, we may suffer from drought situations. Like if you take coastal areas, they may suffer from floods. If you take other regions, they may suffer from droughts, and because of these two situations, there will be reduced crop production. If there is reduced crop production, and nourished food will not be made possible or will not be made available to all the people. So generally, there are many sections, like a few sections of population in the society where they are not having access to go for an expensive food. So it is going to have its impact in the form of malnutrition. It is an indirect consequence. Here, direct consequences suffering from floods and drought conditions. And out of floods and drought conditions, we may suffer from malnutrition, and that problem is surely because of reduced crop production. And if there is reduced crop production, it is going to be a failure in order to supply food to all the people. And next is there are instances like there were cycles of drought and flood in West Africa, which made farmers very difficult to cultivate, the food which need to be made available to the public. The many cycles of drought and floods, they suffered a lot. These few instances, we can quote them as an example. And because of this, children in particular need to suffer from the problem of malnutrition. Mal is nothing but bad nutrition. And the right amount of nutritious food is not made available to the people, and then particularly to the children. And as they suffer from malnutrition, what are the problems associated with it? We know very well. It is going to have its impact on the physical, mental, and other developments. Development will be hindered. Physically, you can visualize, but what about the mental development? If you have proper physical development, then it is going to have its impact on the mental development of the child. We can recognize the physical growth, but we cannot predict by looking at the child the mental development. It needs, we have to observe the child. We need to give few tests, and we need to observe, especially then only, as it is not detectable, it is a big problem for the elder to identify. These are all the problems associated with malnutrition. And the other is mental health. Now, you may think that how it is going to be affected. If you suffer from malnutrition, then it is going to have its impact on the mental development. To that extent, people will not think. And though it is not having a direct consequence, it is an indirect consequence of climate change. But this particular consequence need not be underestimated. We should not underestimate that because of the change in climate, how are we going to suffer mentally? Is there any connection between this? Mostly we may overlook this problem. We've discussed many times. Tell me,
Yes, ma'am.
mental illnesses.
If there is a floods condition, they will be losing their houses. So obviously it causes mental issues, ma'am.
Yes, yes. These are all the most traumatic events. Like we are going to suffer from stress. We may suffer from
Psychologically, they get affected,
etc.
ma'am.
And psychologically, we may become weak, and we may suffer from mental illnesses. And these problems are associated with a change in climate. It is exerting an indirect impact on the health of the people, but this problem should not be underestimated. But many times in a community like India and a society like India, we just overlook the problems associated with mind. These symptoms or these mental illnesses will be left untreated and unchecked, and that we need to overcome. And if this problem is associated with the climate change, it is our responsibility to attend the problems of the public, which are related completely to their mental health. They should not be underestimated. If they are left untreated, it is going to pose major health risks on the public who are suffering from such post-traumatic events. Supposing we never pay attention to mental illnesses, not only in such kind of instances, in our day-to-day life also, problems related to mind, we just overlook them. Physically, ఏదైనా injury అయింది, immediately we're rushed to a doctor. But going to a psychologist or going to a psychiatrist or like attending a counselor, we will not give that preference. But such problems should not be overlooked. Either they are because of normal situations or in a difficult times, in such consequences, if we suffer from such mental illnesses, these problems should not be overlooked. This is all about climate change and its impact or effects on human beings, plants, animals, insects, etc. Our next topic is energy conservation, reduce, reuse, recycle, material, energy and water. How can we reduce, reuse, recycle material, energy and water? And before going to that, now let us look into what is energy. Then we'll learn about energy conservation. What is energy? I think from 5th or 6th grade we've been learning the definition. What is energy?
The ability to do some work.
Is the ability to do work or the capacity to do work is what energy. Like in order to work, do you need energy? You all need energy, I suppose. And no one is responding.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Then from where does your energy to work come from? You said you need energy to do work.
water.
From food and all, ma'am.
Energy is nothing but it is capacity.
Food, water, air.
From where does the energy to work come from?
Intake of food.
Food we eat.
From the food you eat. In order to cook your food, see, you want energy to do work, and you receive or you get your energy from the food you eat. And in order to cook food, what do you require?
Water, electricity, gas, and the
And you need
ingredient.
energy. In order to cook your food, what do you require? How will you cook food? You tell me, how will you cook food?
With the help of gas and electricity, ma'am.
Those two are nothing but the fuels. Gas is a fuel.
Yes.
Where this fuel comes? See, in the past, there is no LPG. There was no electricity at times. And we used to depend upon like wood, firewood, coal, and cow dung cakes also. Do you remember? Do you all know that?
Yes, ma'am.
We used to use
Yes, ma'am.
these materials in order to cook food. And still today, we see many, like in rural areas, people use these materials in order to cook their food. They are using these substances, the energy coming out of these substances as fuel in order to cook their food. Is it not right? Nowadays, we are depending on LPG stoves, liquefied petroleum gas, and this is completely a natural gas, and it comes under fossil fuels. These fossil fuels we are burning and getting our food cooked in order to light up your home, in order to run your fans, in order to run your televisions, in order to run your automobiles, in order to cook your food. You need fuel, and that fuel, the energy which has been derived from burning these fuels, we are using for many purposes in order to run our life in a very comfortable way. We are just depending upon all these energy resources. And you said now, if you burn fossil fuels, energy has been produced. And that energy we have received from the sunlight. As long as the sun is there, such kind of energy will be generated. And we all know that fossil fuels have been formed, produced over millions of years ago, and now we are using them. But the rate of the usage of these fuels need to be slowed down. Otherwise, they will also run out. They are also going to be in short of supply if the demand has been increasing in the same way. Now let us look into sources of energy. What is energy? We have discussed. Now let us look into sources of energy. Then let us move on to energy conservation. I've already discussed this too. It's not completely new. You know very well what are the different sources of energy we have.
And sun, wind,
Sun,
water.
wind,
Nuclear, ma'am.
windmill, water,
Electricity.
moving air is called wind. From wind, by windmills, we are going to generate electricity. What happens in a windmill? The turbines in the windmill will just convert the kinetic energy present in the air. It is not. It is nothing but the moving energy will be converted into mechanical energy, and the generators present in the windmill will convert this mechanical energy into electrical energy. Now, okay. First is sun. It is a very natural source of energy, and it is a renewable energy too. Sun, windmill. The next is list out.
Hydroelectric.
List out all the sources of energy. Let us classify them. hydroelectrical energy. That is nothing but energy which is produced from water.
From
Hydro, water. Next, we
fuels.
have only listed out three: sun, wind, water. Are there any other sources?
Fuels, electricity.
Fuels. Fuels. Under fuels, we have coal, oil, and natural gas. These three are referred as fossil fuels. శిలాజ ఇంధనాలు. మరి ఎలా ఫామ్ అయ్యాయి coal, oil, and natural gas? We have seen. And in addition to these three, there is one source of energy called energy which is derived from wood. Wood also. If you burn wood, then the energy is going to be produced. From the fire, energy is going to be produced, and we just burn the wood to cook food also. Okay, after fuels, sun, wind, water, fuels, wood, coal, oil, natural gas comes under fuels. Next, are there any other sources of energy apart from these four? Nuclear fuels also we have.
Mechanical energy, sound energy.
Mechanical energy. What is mechanical energy? See, it is, for example, if you take windmill, kinetic energy has been converted into mechanical energy, and that mechanical energy, we are just converting it into electrical energy. There are other sources like nuclear fuels too. Nuclear fuels we are using to generate electricity as an alternate to like wind, water, and fuels. As discussed earlier, fossil fuels are in short of supply, so we are depending upon other sources, and we are using nuclear fuels also in order to generate electricity. We have nuclear fuel complexes where electricity is been generated by using nuclear fuels like plutonium, uranium, etc. Next is one other source of energy is geothermal.
Atomic energy, ma'am. Atomic energy.
Atomic energy. And one other new source of energy is geothermal energy. Sangamit, come on.
Chemical energy, ma'am. Even that is also a kind of energy. Chemical.
And from the chemicals, can we use the energy liberated in the form of electricity? Next is geothermal energy. What is geothermal energy?
The energy
Where
which
is it
comes
at?
from the earth, ma'am. Earth's heat
Energy
inside the earth.
comes
From inside the earth, ma'am.
is from the as we know there are three different layers: crust, mantle, and core. From the crust part of the core, this particular energy is being produced, and even this takes a long time to form. And in Greek, geo means earth, and thermi means energy. It is the energy which is derived from the inner layers of the earth. And nowadays we are using geothermal energy also. And now let us classify the above 6 into 2 types. And as you know, there are 2 sources of energy, and we have listed out all the possible sources of energy which give us electricity and which will serve as a fuel in order to use for different purposes. Now let us classify all the above into types. One is renewable and other is non-renewable. Renewable ante enti?
Ma'am, natural source of energy, ma'am. Renewable.
Okay. A definition. Okay, sun, if you take sun, you made it, it is natural. Water, we didn't produce it. Wind, geothermal, these are all renewable sources. Why they are termed as renewable sources?
It can be reproduced again and again, ma'am.
They can be renewed or replenished back. And what are non-renewable sources? Others, please. Very easy. You have been studying this from your childhood.
Like before we said wood, ma'am, wood, electricity, because they are indirect resources. Wood, fossil fuels.
Renewable means which can be replaced endlessly. That means there is an endless supply. And non-renewable, quite opposite. Endless supply is not possible. These resources are limited and will be exhausted after using for a certain period of time. These resources are called as non-renewable resources. If you take renewable resources, they can be replenished back. They can be replenished, replaced endlessly. There is no end for the sun's energy. There is no end for the energy which has been derived from the wind. There is no end for the wind, end for the water and geothermal. So let us take the examples for renewable sources: sun, wind, water and geothermal. And non-renewable sources, the rest. So you tell me, what are the non-renewable sources? Renewable sources are the sources which can be replaced back in an endless means. There is no end to the supply of these resources. Sun, wind, water, geothermal. Now you tell me the examples of non-renewable sources. ఏదో ఒకటి చెప్పండి మీకు వచ్చింది భార్గవి. Not audible, Bhargavi.
Fossil fuels, ma'am.
Fossil fuels, coal, oil and natural gas. Still, nuclear fuels, wood. These cannot be replaced endlessly. That is the reason they are termed and referred as non-renewable. They cannot be replaced. They'll run in short of supply. From the sun, how are we going to derive the energy?
With the help of solar panels, it will absorb the solar heat, ma'am. Then it will get charged. We use solar panels in which sun's energy will be converted into electrical energy. Right? And from water, how electricity is being produced. Now we are discussing how electricity is being generated by using these energy sources, which are completely renewable. Sun, okay, solar energy, solar panels we are going to install. And from water, how energy is being produced.
Ma'am, from dams, because of the force of water, the electricity.
By rotating turbines.
We get
where this hydroelectric power projects are being built up. ఇక్కడ తయారు చేస్తాము.
రివర్స్ దగ్గర
రివర్స్
mostly on all the major rivers, these hydroelectric power projects have been built. Though it is called as a renewable energy source, as we have built on all the major rivers these hydroelectric projects, still we are falling in short of supply of electricity, as these projects are producing or generating the electricity to their fullest extent possible, as they cannot generate even more, to their capacity, as they cannot generate more. So we have to adjust with whatever the amount of electricity they are going to generate. ఎందుకు అని అంటే, and all the major rivers these power projects have been built, and still we cannot build these power projects. That is the reason why to their fullest capacity they have been producing, and as the population is ever increasing, we have to adjust with the whatever the power supply we have. So demands need to be reduced. In order to reduce the demands, we have to minimize the usage. Though water is a natural resource, as the power projects are limited, it is going to produce the energy to their fullest extent. ఇంకా అంతకు మించి అవి పవర్ సప్లై చేయలేవు కాబట్టి whatever the power or electricity they are generating, we have to use that only. మన పాపులేషన్ పెరుగుతుంది కదా అని ఇంకా ఇక్కడ నుంచి కొత్త నదులను తీసుకొస్తాం చెప్పండి? ఆల్రెడీ పవర్ ప్రాజెక్ట్స్ అన్ని కట్టేశారు, అండ్ అది ఎంత ప్రొడ్యూస్ చేస్తుందో విత్ దాట్ వీ హ్యావ్ టు అడ్జస్ట్. అందుకోసం దీన్ని కూడా ఇట్ ఈస్ గోయింగ్ టు రన్ ఇన్ షార్ట్ ఆఫ్ సప్లై అని మనం టర్మ్ రిఫర్ చేయొచ్చు. దో ఇట్ ఈస్ ఎ న్యాచురల్ రిసోర్స్, అది దాని ఫుల్ కెపాసిటీ వరకు అది ప్రొడ్యూస్ చేస్తుంది, ఇంకంతకన్నా చేయలేదు. కాబట్టి ఇది కూడా మనం ఇంకా ఎక్కువ డిమాండ్ చేసి సప్లై చేయలేకపోవచ్చు. This is the problem associated with the natural resource called water. ఇంకా ఎటువంటి ఛాన్స్ లేదు in order to increase the supply of electricity, in order to meet the increased demand. So electricity in this particular context also becomes a non-renewable one. Why there is a need of energy conservation? We have listed all the possible sources of energy and classified them based upon their supply, based upon their replacement. So why is it necessary for us to conserve the energy then? Why there is a need to conserve the energy?
మ్యామ్, నాన్ రెన్యూవబుల్ రిసోర్సెస్ ఏవైతే ఉన్నాయో అవి అది ఇట్ కెనాట్ బి రిప్లెనిష్డ్. సో బికాస్ ఆఫ్ ద హ్యూజ్ పాపులేషన్ అండ్ ద డిమాండ్, సప్లై లేకపోతే దెన్ అందరికి అది అందదు. కాబట్టి ఉన్న వాటిని కన్జర్వ్ చేసుకుంటూ ఉండాలి మ్యామ్.
ఇంకొకటి మీరు ఇక్కడ గుర్తుపెట్టుకోవాలి, ఈవెన్ నాన్ రెన్యూవబుల్ రిసోర్సెస్ ఆల్సో కెన్ బి replenished, but it takes longer duration, like some millions of years ago నుంచి ఫామ్ అయినవి మనం యూజ్ చేస్తున్నాము. అది ఫామ్ అయ్యే రేట్ కన్నా మనం యూజ్ చేసే రేట్ ఎక్కువ ఉందనుకోండి, అది ఇన్ షార్ట్ ఆఫ్ సప్లై మన డిమాండ్ తగ్గట్టుగా సప్లై ఉండదు. నాన్ రెన్యూవబుల్ రిసోర్సెస్ కూడా రీప్లెనిష్ అవుతాయి, బట్ ఇట్ టేక్స్ లాంగర్ టైం. సన్, విండ్, వాటర్ లాగా అంత త్వరగా రీప్లేస్ అయ్యేటటువంటి స్కోప్ నాన్ రెన్యూవబుల్ రిసోర్సెస్ కి ఉండదు. మరి ఇవి కూడా రీప్లెనిష్ అవుతాయి, కాకపోతే చాలా లాంగర్ డ్యూరేషన్ పడుతుంది. సమ్ మిలియన్స్ ఆఫ్ ఇయర్స్ అగో ఇట్ టేక్స్.
మ్యామ్,
in order to meet the needs.
మ్యామ్ ఇది ఇందాక కెమికల్ ఎనర్జీ గురించి మీరు అడిగారు కదా మేడం, ఎలా ఫామ్ అవుతుంది అని. ఇప్పుడు అది బ్యూటన్ గ్యాస్ ఉంది కదా మ్యామ్, న్యాచురల్ గ్యాస్, ఇవన్నీ వాటితో ద కంబషన్ క్రియేట్ అయ్యి కూడా ఇట్ విల్ గివ్స్ రైస్ టు హీట్ అండ్ లైట్ కదా మ్యామ్. అలానే కార్ లో యూజ్ చేసే ఇంజిన్స్ కూడా ఇప్పుడు విత్ ద హెల్ప్ ఆఫ్ పెట్రోల్ ఓన్లీ ద ఇంజిన్ స్టార్ట్ అవుతుంది కదా మ్యామ్. అన్ని ఆటోమొబైల్స్ లో వాటి. సో పెట్రోల్ ఈజ్
అవును.
కన్వర్టెడ్ టు ఎనర్జీ. సో పెట్రోల్ ఈజ్ ఎ కైండ్ ఆఫ్ కెమికల్ కదా మ్యామ్. అది కెమికల్ ఎనర్జీ లాగా చెప్పచ్చా?
ఇప్పుడు వాటిని మనం ఫాజిల్ ఫ్యూయల్స్ అంటున్నాం. కోల్, ఆయిల్ అండ్ న్యాచురల్ గ్యాస్ ఈ మూడు శిలాజ ఇంధనాలు.
And the energy
Coal
created out
ditches
of this,
మనము
energy created out of
and
these fossil fuels.
and we are just producing electricity by using coal. There is no time like this is one kind of energy. This is the energy which is derived from fossil fuels, which is a non-renewable resource, non-renewable sources of energy. న్యూక్లియర్ ఫ్యూయల్స్ గురించి మాట్లాడండి. కెమికల్ ఎనర్జీ అంటే న్యూక్లియర్ ఫ్యూయల్స్ యూ కెన్ పిక్ అప్.
అండ్ బ్యాటరీస్ లో ఉన్నది మేడం, బ్యాటరీస్ లో ఉంటాయి చూడండి, అది ఏం కైండ్ ఆఫ్ ఎనర్జీ మ్యామ్?
అవి కెమికల్స్. లిథియం అయాన్, లిథియం వి జస్ట్ యూస్ ఇన్ బ్యాటరీస్.
కెమికల్ ఎనర్జీ మ్యామ్.
లిథియం అయాన్ బ్యాటరీస్ యూజ్ చేస్తాం కదా, కెమికల్ ఎనర్జీ.
ఓకే మ్యామ్.
Okay, why is there need of energy conservation? Is, as you said, in order to meet the demands of increasing population, we have to conserve the energy. Now let us think this with an example. See why there is an increasing demand for energy because of ever increasing population. Population has been increasing, but energy sources are not increasing in the same pace or rate. That is why we have to make. But can't we stop our activities where we are consuming the energy in the form of electricity or in some other ways and means? Can we prevent performing some activities or like following our daily routine? Can we stop all those? Can you stop cooking? Can you stop using your electronic gadgets or electronic devices at your home? In order to conserve the energy, can you stop all these activities in order to save the energy?
No, ma'am, we can't.
Then what is the alternate for that?
Unnecessarily we should not use, ma'am. అంటే ఇప్పుడు మనకి ఇప్పుడు లైట్స్ వేస్తాం ఇంట్లో. సో ఇఫ్ వీ నీడ్ నాట్ దేర్, అంటే మనకి అక్కడ పని లేదు అన్నప్పుడు వీ కెన్ స్విచ్ ఆఫ్.
Okay.
సేవ్స్ టు సమ్ ఎక్స్టెంట్. ఈవెన్ అట్లనే వాటర్
In order యూజ్ చేసుకోవాలి, కానీ దాని యూసేజ్ ని మినిమైజ్ చేయాలి. అమౌంట్ ఆఫ్ దట్ మెటీరియల్ we need to
Ma'am, regarding cooking, we have already discussed, ma'am, instead of we need to cook in pressure cookers.
Yes. So if you want to cook your dal in an open container, what is the amount of energy it is going to utilize? And if you cook the same dal in a pressure cooker, and what is the energy it is going to take? How much fuel is needed? Is it the same, or it is going to consume more amount of energy?
మోర్ ఎనర్జీ మ్యామ్, విడిగా ఉండదు.
మీరు ఓపెన్ కంటైనర్ లో with a lid also, if you cook, it takes more time compared to cooking in a pressure cooker. It saves your time and it saves your fuel too. What is your fuel? Your fuel is CNG, LPG, liquefied petroleum gas, which is a natural gas, as it is a part of fossil fuel. But దీన్ని మీరు సేవ్ చేస్తున్నట్టు you are also saving your time. Suppose you want to cook your rice, potatoes, as well as dal. Then how will you cook? By consuming less fuel. When you burn this particular fuel, energy has been produced. We are using that energy in the form of fire in order to cook food. If you want to cook rice, dal, as well as potatoes, how will you cook?
in pressure cooker.
Waste. One is to cook the three in 3 times. You have to switch on your stove, like to cook your potato, just switch on, like cook your potato and then go for cooking dal, then go for cooking rice. Then if you like use your cooker and have your we have separators. We can cook rice and as well as we have compartments. We can also use separators so that in the same time we can cook the rice, dal and potato. I think it is been available in automatic cookers.
Yes, ma'am.
Now where we can cook 2 or 3 at the same time. It is going to save your time and mainly it is going to save the energy. మరి మీరు ఎలాగైనా వండుకోవచ్చు. ఫైనలీ యువర్ రెసిపీ ఇస్ సేమ్, అవుట్పుట్ ఇస్ సేమ్, బట్ ఇన్ యువర్ ఇఫ్ యూ ఫాలోయింగ్ ద వే విచ్ ఇస్ కన్స్యూమింగ్ లెస్ ఎనర్జీ, then you are saving the energy without compromising to cook your food. ఇక్కడ వండుకోకుండా ఆగడం లేదు. We are cooking each and everything but using less energy. And meanwhile we are also saving our time. And we must conserve the energy because of number of reasons. Let us list out few. First is demand exceeds the supply. What is demand exceeds the supply? We have discussed there is a dire need of saving the energy, and as the population is ever increasing and as the energy sources are not increasing at the same pace, so we have to conserve the energy. And let us look into few reasons why we need to conserve the energy. First is demand exceeds the supply. What is demand exceeds the supply? ఇది ఎక్కువ ఎకనామిక్స్ లో చూస్తుంటాం చూడండి. డిమాండ్ ఎక్సీడ్స్ సప్లై. వాట్ హ్యాపన్స్? ఎకనామిక్స్ లో చెప్పండి. డిమాండ్ సప్లై కన్నా పెరిగితే ఏమవుతుంది? రేట్ పెరుగుతుంది చూడండి.
లీడ్స్ టు ఇన్ఫ్లేషన్, రైజ్ ఇన్ ద ప్రైసెస్ ఆఫ్ ఫుడ్స్.
అక్కడ మరి ఇక్కడ సప్లై కన్నా డిమాండ్ ఎక్కువ ఉంటే ఏమవుతుంది విత్ రెస్పెక్ట్ టు ఎనర్జీ ఆర్ ఎనర్జీ సోర్సెస్? ఎందుకు ఈ డిమాండ్ పెరిగింది? Increasing demand for energy due to increasing population, industrialization and automation in home, office and farms, etc. ఇప్పుడు మనం వాడుతున్నటువంటి ఎలక్ట్రానిక్ గ్యాడ్జెట్స్ కి సప్లై కావాలి. యూసేజ్ ఆఫ్ ఎలక్ట్రిసిటీ has been increased a lot, and that is the reason why we are depending upon the energy sources. And so with ever increasing population, with a high increasing population, obviously there will be an increase in the demand of power supply too. And as there is a gap between demand and supply, how can we reduce this gap? సప్లై కన్నా డిమాండ్ పెరిగిపోయింది. ఎందుకంటే పాపులేషన్ పెరిగింది. ఆ పెరిగినటువంటి పాపులేషన్ యొక్క అవసరాలు కూడా పెరిగాయి, కాకపోతే సప్లై పెరగలేదు. మరి ఇక్కడ గ్యాప్ వచ్చేసింది. దెర్ ఇస్ ఎ గ్యాప్ బిట్వీన్ డిమాండ్ అండ్ సప్లై. దెన్ హౌ కెన్ వి రెడ్యూస్ దిస్ గ్యాప్? ఆల్రెడీ ఒక ఎగ్జాంపుల్ తీసుకున్నాం. మనం హైడ్రోఎలక్ట్రిక్ పవర్ అంతకన్నా ప్రొడ్యూస్ చేయలేము. వాళ్ళ కెపాసిటీ వరకు అవి ప్రొడ్యూస్ చేస్తున్నాయి. దెన్ వాట్ ఈస్ ఆల్టర్నేట్? మరి ఉన్నవి రిసోర్సెస్ ఉన్నవి కదా అని మనం ఇష్టం వచ్చినట్టుగా వాడడానికి లేదు. మనం ఫ్యూచర్ జనరేషన్స్ కి సేవ్ చేయాలి. ఇప్పుడు ఉంది ఓకే, బట్ యూ షుడ్ నాట్ యూస్ ఇన్ ద సేమ్ రేట్ as they are not increasing in the same pace as the population has been increasing. Then how can we reduce the gap between demand and supply? There are two options before us. One is increase the supply. Second is reduce the demand. Can we increase the supply now? ఈ గ్యాప్ ని తగ్గించాలి అంటే రెండే ఆప్షన్స్ ఉన్నాయి. ఒకటి, మీరు సప్లైని ఇంక్రీజ్ చేయండి. సెకండ్ వచ్చేసి డిమాండ్ ని రెడ్యూస్ చేయండి. మరి మన చేతిలో ఉన్నది ఏంటి చెప్పండి? సప్లైని ఇంక్రీజ్
Reducing the demand, ma'am.
Yes. As the supply is limited, we cannot increase the supply. డిమాండ్స్ రెడ్యూస్ చేసుకోవడం మన చేతిలో గల పని కాబట్టి అది ఒక్కటే మనం చేయగలిగింది. ఈ రెండు ఆప్షన్స్ లో బెటర్ ఆప్షన్ ఏది అంటే రెడ్యూస్. ఇందాక మీరు కుక్ చేసుకునేటప్పుడు యూ కెన్ కుక్ బై ఎనీ వేస్ అండ్ మీన్స్. ఎవరు వచ్చి అడగరు మీరు ఎందుకు ఫ్యూయల్ వేస్ట్ చేస్తున్నారు. సి ఇట్ ఈస్ అ ప్రాబ్లమ్ from individual to global concerns. As an individual, there should be a change in the behavior. We should strive for saving the energy. And that responsibility each and everyone should have. అందుకే ఇవన్నీ ఇలా డిఫరెంట్ కోర్సెస్లో కోర్స్ కరిక్యులంలో పొందుపరుస్తుంటారు. ఎన్వైరన్మెంటల్ ఎడ్యుకేషన్ అనేది ఇట్ ఇస్ జనరల్ లర్నర్స్ అందరికీ సంబంధించింది. ఇట్ ఇస్ నాట్ జస్ట్ స్పెసిఫిక్. ఎందుకు అంటే ఎన్వైరన్మెంట్, ఎనర్జీ రిసోర్సెస్ ఇవన్నీ అందరికీ వర్తించేవే కాబట్టి ఇట్ ఈస్ ద ప్రాబ్లమ్ ఆఫ్ ఈచ్ అండ్ ఎవ్రీ ఇండివిజువల్. ఈచ్ అండ్ ఎవ్రీ ఇండివిజువల్ is responsible in tackling these difficult situations. So second is energy saved is energy generated. What do you mean by this? See, demand exceeds supply. Okay, now to reduce the demand, we have to vote for reducing the demand as we cannot increase the supply. And the other reason why we need to conserve the energy is energy saved is energy generated. What do you mean by this? You have a good example in your book. See, we all know what is bank, and we just deposit money in bank whenever we have a non-demand. Whenever we have a demand for money, we are going to withdraw and use for different purposes. The more you put in, the more you are going to save and use as per your needs. If you put less amount and if you just spend more amount than you put in, then there will be shortage of money in your bank. In the same way, now you just draw the analogy between these two. We have to save more energy and use less energy, and thus saved energy will be used in the future. We can use up the saved energy in the future. If you use more energy, then there will be shortage of the supply of energy. That energy may be in the form of electricity or any other means. Energy saved is generated. Already we cannot increase supply of energy, we know very well. So what is the option before us? We have to save the energy. There are many ways to save the energy. Like as you said, without compromising, we can save the energy. Whatever the energy you save now, it can be used up in the future. Clear?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Every person's motto today should be save on something. We have to save on something. మీరు ఏది చేసినా సేవ్ చేయడానికి ట్రై చేయండి. Like how we save economically, in the same way with reference to energy sources also, we should just strive to save the energy wherever you are and whatever you are. The third reason is fuels are limited. What do you mean by fuels are limited? Fuels are very limited. Coal, oil and natural gas, fossil fuels. They are limited in supply, and in order to replace them, it takes millions of years ago. And one report is there, natural gas will be like about by 2035, it is going to be exhausted, it seems. Oil about by 2055, and coal about by 2285. They will run out, it seems, and after this they will not be available in the lifetime. It's a prediction. If so, we have to save the energy resources, especially fuels. With reference to non-renewable resources, we have to save them. Otherwise, they will be likely run out in the future, and after they'll become exhausted, and supply of such fuels will not be made available in the lifetime. That is the reason, as the fuels are limited in supply, we have to save the burning of these fuels. these are the three reasons. Like demand exceeds supply, energy saved is energy generated, and as the fuels are limited, we have to conserve the energy. Then how can we conserve the energy? And wherever we are, let us look into such aspects tomorrow. If we are in workplace, how can we? If we are at office, how can we? Okay?
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.